Today's daf, Be'ez Hashem, is Masech Shavuos Daf Chof Ches. Daf Chof Ches. So we are holding on Daf Chof Zayin Amid Beis. Chof Zayin Amid Beis, 5 lines from the bottom. Amar Rava. Okay, let me make it louder. Okay, so the Gemara, Amar Rava, Rava said, Nishba al Kikar, somebody swore on a loaf of bread, va'achala, and then ate it. Im shir mimena kuzayis, if he left over a kuzayis, nishal aleh, then he could undo the shvua. In other words, like this, he swore that he's not going to eat an entire loaf of bread. So he is only in violation of his oath unless he eats the entire loaf of bread. I guess retroactively, if he ate the entire loaf of bread, he cannot undo the shvua. He cannot go to a rabbi and say, "Oh, please undo the shvua that I did." However, as long as he did not eat the entire loaf of bread, even if he left over just one little kazayas that he did not yet eat, nishal aleh, he can undo the shvua by asking a rabbi to be matar the shvua, and then he's fine. Achala kula, but here's the key point. If he ate the entire loaf of bread, right? If he ate the entire loaf of bread, so ein nishal, then he can no longer ask a rabbi to undo it because he violated his oath. What are you going to ask your rabbi to undo an avera that you did? So that's the Rava, and it seems pretty straightforward. Amalei Rav Acha berei the Rava Ravashi. So Rav Acha said to the son of Rava, said to Ravashi, I don't understand. Maybe he was talking about his father. What's the case that his father was talking about? Hey Chadami, what are we talking about over here? Id Amar, if he said Shaloi Oichal, because he's not going to eat. Mikazayas Kama. If he said, I'm not going to eat a little piece of this loaf of bread, so then the Gemara says, Mikazayas Kama of the Yisura. Right away from the very beginning, you did the Isser. As soon as you ate one kazayas, you were already in violation of the oath. So how could you ask a rabbi to undo the shvuah? Id ama shaloi achlana. But if he said that I'm not going to eat the entire loaf of bread, and only if I eat the entire loaf of bread, I'm in violation of the oath. My area kazayas. What's the point that as long as a kazayas is left over, then you could ask a rabbi to undo the shvuah. We go to Amid Chav Ches Amid Aleph. Afilu kol shunami. Even if you didn't eat a drop, if there's a drop left, you aren't in violation of the shvuah. The shvuah was that you're supposed to eat the whole thing, and you still have a few crumbs left. So why can't you ask a rabbi to undo your shvuah? So the Gemara says like this: Iba Yisema. If you want, I could explain Rava when the oath was shlo oichel, that he's not going to eat any part of the bread. If you want, I can tell you shloi achlena, that the oath was that he's not going to eat the entire loaf of bread. So let's see. If you want, I can explain Rava is shloi oichel. He said, I'm not going to eat a kazayas of the bread. So migoy from the loaf. So therefore, every kazayas that he eats from this loaf of bread, he's in violation of an oath. So the neder that the shvuah that's going to be undone by the rabbi is for the future kazayisim that you're going to eat. So if you have one kazayis left that you did not eat, so the shelas chacham could work on the last kazayis. And migoy, since the mahanyale shela kazayis basra, since that shaila could work, the undoing of the shvuah could work on the last kazayis, because you didn't eat the last kazayis, and you would be in violation if you do. So mahanyule she'ela nama kazayis kama. So it would help and it would be effective on the earlier kazayisim. In other words, that on the earlier kazayisim, even though you already was in violation, it's somehow you're in violation, and you're going to ask the rabbi, and he's going to undo the violation that you did. So that's how it can work if you learn pshat that the oath was made shloi oichel, I will not eat. If you want, I can tell you. He said shloi oichlen, I'm not going to eat the entire loaf. So if he's not going to eat the entire loaf, then why do we need a kazayas being left over? Even if less than a kazayas is left over, Why can't you be shoyel neder? You didn't violate the neder, the shvua yet. Why do we need a kazayas being left over? And says the Gemara, Ishai or kazayas, if you leave over kazayas, chasib litchuli alei, then it's important that you could ask a chacham to undo the shvua. But the Gemara is telling you a chiddush, if there's only 2 crumbs left, loy chashiv latshuya allowed a heter shvua would not work over here because it's such an insignificant amount. The chachamim don't reckon with something like that to be matar a shvua, and therefore you won't be able to matar the shvua if there's less than a kazayas left, because it's something that the rabbis are not going to deal with. So now we ask the question, Meisvei, let's ask a question against Rava. The Brisa says that you told me that once something is in violation and you completed the violation, so then if you completed the violation, then you can't ask a rabbi to shoyel on the Shavua. So says the Gemara, Meisvei, then let's ask a question. If someone made a Shavua, a neder, that he's going to be a Nazir 2 times in a row. Harei alai Nazir, Harei alai Nazir. Uman Rishayna, and he counted the first 30 days, Hifrish, allow carbon, and then brought a carbon. So now he's completed his first Naziris. And then the Mishnah says, and then he asked and undid the first Naziris. That worked. Also, then you don't have to count another Naziris for the second Naziris. It's the first Naziris disappears. And you can, and the second Naziris, you don't even have to count, because the first counting that you did will go towards the second Naziris that you're obligated to do. And the carbon of the first Naziris will be applied for the second Naziris. So what do you see from there? That even if you completed the term, you could be shoyel on your neder. So same thing over here. Why don't we say that even if you ate the entire loaf of bread, you could be shoyel on the shvua? So the Gemara answers, here we're talking about Bishuloi Kippur, that here you didn't complete the Naziris, because if you didn't bring the carbon, you still have to keep the first Naziris. So it's not completed yet, because you now drink wine, now go into a cemetery. So therefore, you could still be shoyel on the first one, because it was uncompleted yet. Says Gemara Vatanya, but we learned in a brayso keeper that even if you did bring the carbon, you could still be shoyel on the Rishayna. And says the Gemara B'Shaloi Gileach, you did not take that haircut. And Rabbi Lezer, Da'ama Teglachas Ma'akva, that as long as you didn't take the haircut, the first Naziris didn't end. Rabbi Lezer holds that it's not just about bringing the carbon and then you're free. You have to actually take that haircut after Naziris. And as long as you didn't take the haircut, that's what we're talking about. You were shoyel al Rishayna. But we learned in the brayso that even if you brought the carbon, even if you took the haircut, and so you completed entirely the Rishayna, you're still allowed to be shoyel on the Rishayna. So that makes our question total 100%. Even if we see in this Mishnah that even if you completed the Naziris, you could be shoyel on the Naziris. So same thing, even if you completed and violated the oath by eating the entire loaf of bread, you should be able to be shoyel on the Shvuah. So how do you square off this contradiction? Rav Ashi says, Naziris Karamas, you're asking me a contradiction of Rashinis, of Naziris. We've seen this svara before. Mi garam l'shniyah l'shloi tachal. What caused that the first one should not that the first one will not be counted towards the second Naziris? That means that we're saying that the first counting that you did goes for the first Naziris. So therefore you have a question. So we say the answer is because you had a first Naziris over there. But you told the Chacham that you had a charata and you uprooted the first one as if it never existed. So therefore, the counting that you did for the second one is counted. And this first one was still there when you were asking the rabbi, the counting was still in existence. In other words, even though technically you brought the carbon, you brought the giluach, but the counting that it was going towards the first was there. So you were shoyel on that counting that it should not go for the first, it should go for the second Naziris. But a loaf of bread that you swore that you're not going to eat it, and you ate the entire loaf, you definitely will over your Shavua. There's nothing in existence anymore, and therefore there's no such a thing of a Shayla anymore. So that's the opinion of Rava. Rava said that if you ate the entire loaf, then you can't ask a Shayla's Chacham to undo that Shvuah. But Amar is a little lenient. Amar says, Afila achala kula, even if you ate the entire loaf, and then you go to a rabbi and says, listen, I violated my oath, Nishal he can undo that shvuah, and you're not in violation. Because the whole process is not just the violation of the oath, it's actual the kapara. And as long as you didn't have any kapara, so the existence of the avera is still there, and then you could be shoyal on that. If you did the violation by mistake, you ate the loaf, kusa carbon, you're still missing a carbon. If we're talking about you violated the oath on purpose, kusa malchus, you're missing that you didn't get the malchus, and therefore you could always be shoyal on the shavua. So says Amem. But even Amem would agree. Let's say al kafsu al omed. If they already tied him to the post, ready to give him malchus, then he can't scream out, "Oh, let me be shoyal on my shavua and get the rabbi so I don't get malchus." Lie, because once they tied him, it's as if the malchus was given. How do you know when they tie somebody to a pole and they're ready to give the malchus? We consider it as if the malchus was given. Shmuel, like Shmuel taught us in Sechta Malchus. Shmuel said, Kafsu al ha'amid. If they tied somebody to the pole, ready to give him malchus, and he deserves malchus. Let's say he ate nevelis, so he deserves malchus. V'ratz mibezdin, and then he broke free from the post, and he ran away from bezdin. So Potter, he's not in violation. You don't have to go after him and give him malchus, because once he was on the pole, he was shamed enough. And because of that, that's considered like a malchus, that he got his malchus already. So we see that once you're on the pole, it's considered as if you got the malchus. So once you're on the pole, the Gemara says, then you can't be shoyal the chacham. Says the Gemara, not true. It's not true. Could be when you're on the pole, you could be shoyal the chacham. But Hasam, over there, ruts. You are running away. And therefore, when you're on the pole, you ran away, so we consider it as if you got the malchus. But in our case, loyrats, you didn't run away, you're still tied to the pole. So that's not considered as if you got your malchus. So as long as you're tied to the pole, you could still be shoyal chacham and undo the shvuah, the violation that you did. So it's a good shmaka machlekes between Amemar and Rava. How long do we give a person the right to be shoyal on the shvuah? Now the Gemara says a new Gemara. Amar Rava said, Shvua shla oichel kikerzu. The guy says, I'm not going to eat this loaf of bread. Now imagine he has one loaf of bread on his right side in front of him. He says, I swear I'm not going to eat this loaf of bread. Im oichelzu. If I'm going to eat the loaf of bread that's on my left side. So there's a conditional loaf of bread, and if he eats the bread on his left side, only then does the bread on his right side become asur. So va'achal es harishonim, and he ate the first loaf, which means the conditional loaf, the one on the left side, b'shoigig, by mistake. So v'hashnia, but the first one, the second one, which is on his right side, the one that would be asur, he ate that on purpose. Potter, he's potter. Now why? Because when does the isur on the a loaf of bread that's on your right side take effect? Only if you eat the bread on your left side. But when you ate the bread on your left side, you are b'shoigig. You were not thinking that there's a repercussion over here, that it's gonna asur the loaf on my right side. And when a person tries to asur something else, he has to be in a mindset. He has to be in a full mindset, because the Torah says Adam b'shvuah, as you can see in Rashi. You have to be a mensch when you make a shvuah. Not, it can't happen, a shvuah can't happen when you're drunk or something like that. So therefore, when you ate the rishonim, the conditional one, b'shoigeg, the one on your left side, b'shoigeg, it did not asur the one on your right side. So even if you ate the one on your right side afterwards, b'mezid, you're still going to be exempt. You didn't do anything wrong. But rishonim b'mezid, if you ate the conditional one on purpose, so now you knew when you were eating the conditional one, it's going to asur the one on your right side. Ushniya b'shoigig, and then you ate the one on your right side by accident. Chayev, you're going to be liable because you ate the second one. Albeit you're not going to be chayev malchus, you're going to be chayev a korban because you ate it by mistake. Shtei b'shoigig, potter, that's obvious. If you ate the conditional one, as long as you're eating the conditional one b'shoigig, there is no shavua over here. So then potter, you're an exempt. But we go to Amid Beis. Shtei and b'mezid, if you eat both of them on purpose, you ate the one on the right side and the one on the left side on purpose. So l'chayra, you should be chayiv, but not so fast. Achlu l'tnai, you ate the conditional one, the one on your left side first, on purpose, so you know it's going to answer the right one. And then you ate the one on your right side. Then that makes perfect sense. Yechayev malchus, because when you ate the second one, you knew it was aser. And b'shas you ate at the time that you ate the one on your left side, you knew that it's going to answer the one on your right side. So therefore, Yechayev malchus. But achluhu leisura v'hada achlu t'nai. If you first ate the one that's aser, that one that could potentially become aser, and then you ate the conditional one. So you first ate the loaf of bread on your right side, and then you ate the loaf of bread on your left side. So then, looked at the Rabbi Yochanan and Rav Shlokish. This would be a machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Rav Shlokish. L'man diyam, according to the opinion, Asra Sovek Shma Asra Chayev, according to the one that held that a doubtful warning is a warning Yechayev. L'man diyam Eloishma Asra, that's not good to call the warning. Potter, you'll be potter. You see, a normal warning for you doing something wrong, if we tell you don't eat this piece of meat because it's treif, so then I know for sure it's treif, don't eat it. So that's a hasrois vadai. Here, when they warn the person, he's eating about to eat the loaf on his right side. He did not eat the loaf, the conditional loaf, from his left side. So when he takes a bite of that loaf on the right side, of the piece of bread on the right side, we don't know if it's aser. We say that it might become aser if you're going to eat the bread on the left side. Is that considered a good warning? If you hold it's considered a good warning, then you're going to be chayev malchus. If you hold that's not called a warning, then you're going to be exempt from malchus. That is a subject to a machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Rav Shlokish. Now the Gemara says, Tolan zu bezu, and let's say both of them are Isser breads and both of them are conditional breads. That means he says, Loy oichel zu, im oichel zu. He says, I'm not going to eat the one on my right if I'm going to eat the one on my left. And loy oichel zu, but I'm not going to eat the bread on my left, im oichel zu, if I'm going to eat the one on my right. The ochal, and so he ate, let's say, the one on his right, zu b'zodoin atzmos. Each one is a bread and a conditional bread. The ochal, and he ate zu b'zodoin atzma. This he knew that when he ate the one on his right, let's say, he knew that it could be that he's eating an isser, but he forgot that by him, the repercussion of him eating it will answer the one on his left side. So he was doing atzma. He knew that he could be eating an isser, but uvishigigas chaberta. But he was not sure if he forgot that it might answer the one on his left side. V'zubis doing atzma v'shigigas chaberta. The same thing with the one on the left side. He knew that this left one might be aser, but he didn't take into account that his repercussion will cause that the one on his right side will become aser. So the point is that as long as when you're eating the conditional bread, whether the conditional is the right one or the left one, and in this case, both are conditional breads because both are connected to each other. So if you weren't in a full mindset that it's going to answer another piece of bread, the repercussion by you eating this bread will answer another piece of bread, then potter, you're not in violation. If you're going to eat this by mistake, you don't know that this might be oxer, but you know for a fact it was doin chaverta, that the b'mezid, it's going to answer something else. So let's say you ate the one on the right side, and you don't know that this one on the right side could be aser, but it was doin chaverta, but you knew for a fact that by you eating the bread on the right side, it's going to answer the one on the left side. And then you go and eat the one on the left side, vizu b'shigiras asma. You ate it by mistake. Well, this was also already because you ate it b'zdoin chaberta. The first one on the right knew when you were eating it that it's going to answer the one on the left. So when you ate the one on the left by mistake, so then you chayiv a korban, obviously. Uvizdoin chaverta, and even when you ate the one on the left, okay, and you knew that it's going to answer the one on the right, but it's going to only answer it retroactively. So that you'll be actually be potter on a carbon. So two, you only chayiv one carbon for eating the second loaf of bread. Shtei and b'shoiging, if you ate both of them by mistake, completely by mistake, then potter, you're potter, because as long as you're eating conditional bread by mistake, there is no shvuah here, as we explained. Shtei and b'mezid, ashniya mechayev, arishoina plukta, the Rabbi Yechon Rishlapish. If you ate both of them on purpose, so then on the second one, obviously when it's zudoin, you did it by mistake. So you ate the first one on your right, totally on purpose. And you knew that it's usher, it might be usher by itself, and it might usher the second one. So when you ate the second one on purpose, you get a malchus. And you knew by eating the second one, it's going to usher the first one. But you already ate the first one. Are you going to get malchus on the first one? That's plukted Rabbi Yechon Rishlakish, because according to we don't know. When you were warned on the first one, it wasn't yet usher. So it was a hasra suffix. And if it's a hasra suffix and not a clear has warning, you may not be liable. So that would be under the subject of Rabbi Yochanan Rishlakish. So what do we see from here? That when you are eating something and the result of you eating something will be answering something else, you have to be in a full mindset that when you're eating that something, that you know what's going to happen. It's going to be answering something else. If you eat it and you totally forget that it's going to answer something else, it's not going to answer that other food. So Amarav Mori, we have a Mishnah that says that. The Nidre Shkogas Ketzad, how can you have a mistake in neder that doesn't take effect? So guy says, this is not relevant so much. Guy says, the food in front of me should be usher to me if I ate and drank. And he thought he never ate today or never drank today. And then he remembered, oh yeah, I did eat and drink today. So his neder was one big mistake. What about in the other case? This is where the case, he says, I swear I'm not going to eat or drink in the future. And if I'm not going to eat or drink, then if I'm going to eat or drink, then what I'm going to eat now becomes awesome. Okay, so he says, what's in front of me should become asr if I'm going to eat or drink in the future. Shachach v'achal v'shasa, but then he forgot, and when he was eating, he forgot that the repercussion was that it's going to asr you from eating what's in front of you, mutter, because when you were eating, you didn't think about that this is going to cause an isser to another piece of food, so it's mutter. So that's the idea. When you're eating the conditional food, and you're not aware that the repercussion is that it's going to answer the first piece of food, there's no shvuah taking effect. There's no neder taking effect. So on a law, we learned on a brisa, just like this law applies by neder, so also this law of mistaken neder would apply by shvuah, that if you're not aware eating something will cause the shvuah to take effect on another piece of food, it does not take effect. Finally, the last piece of Gemara today is like this. Interesting. Ephah, this person named Ephah, I think he was the son of Rachba, Tana Shavuos by Rabbah. He went to Yeshiva of Rabbah and learned Masechta Shavuos. Paga by Avimi Achu. His brother Avimi met him after he came out of Yeshiva, and he tested him. You learned Masechta Shavuos in Yeshiva of Rabbah. Let's see how much you know. So he asked him some trick questions. Amalei, so Avimi asked his brother Ephah, let's say a guy says, Shvuah shlo yechalti, I swear I didn't eat. And then Shvuah shlo yechalti, and he says, I swear I didn't eat. Maho, what's the din? Are you chayav two, and it turns out he ate. So are you chayav two Shvuah? Did you do two averas or one aver? Amalei, so Ephah says, Ein chayav elachas, you only chayav one. Because ain't Shvuah, chalal Shvuah, right? And once you have one Shvuah, you can't make another Shvuah on top of that Shvuah. Amalei, so Avimi says, got you, ishtabash, you made a mistake. The first time you said shvuah lo yechalti, it was already known that it's a false shvuah because you actually ate. So that shvuah disappeared. Now when you made another shvuah shlo yechalti, so you're in violation again. So according to Avimi, you're going to be chayav two averas, not just one avera. Then he asked him another question. Person says, I swear I'm not going to eat 9 loaves of bread. And then he says, I swear I'm not going to eat 10 loaves of bread. Mahu, what's the din? So Eifa said, Chayav al kol achas achas. In each and every one, you can chayav one. Because by saying the shvuah that I'm not going to eat 10 loaves of bread, that added to what you're saying, and you're adding a 10th one. So it's a brand new shvuah, so you chayav on each one. Amalei, so Avimi said, Ishtabash, you're making a mistake. Itesha loy achal, esa loy achal. If you're not going to eat the 9, you're not going to be able to eat the 10th. So the 10th is included already in the 9th. When you said shvuah shloy eichel teisha, that's already a shvuah that you're not going to eat 10. Because in order to get to the number 10, you have to eat 9. So therefore, you have only one shvuah, ein shvuah chal al shvuah. Then he asked him a question. Shvuah shloy eichel esa b'teisha. He says, first I'm not going to eat 10, and then I'm not going to eat 9. Oh, so already, what's the din? Well, you said you're not going to eat 10, and 9 is included in 10. So it's basically, you said, I'm not going to eat 9 also. You said, I'm not going to eat 10, I'm also not going to eat 9. So he says, you only chayav 1. You're making a mistake there. You said, I swear I'm not going to eat the entire 10. But if you only ate 9, you're not in violation of your first shvuah. So when you said shvuah, I'm not going to eat 9, so then you made a brand new shvuah. So you chayav on each one. So really, this Eifa who learned in Yeshiva Rabbah, his brother really tested him and found out that he couldn't answer one question. Amar Abayah, so Abayah said, I'm going to defend Ifa. Zimdim mishkachas loloh Ifa t'kedamar. I'm going to find Ifa being correct. When a person says shvu shloy oichel esa v'teisha. Why? Kedamar, the Amar Rabbah said, shvu shloy oichel te'enim va'anavim. Person said, I'm not going to eat figs and grapes in one day. So he has to eat both. And then then he says, I swear I'm not going to eat figs. So that is a brand new shvuah, because here the second shvuah says, I'm not going to eat just figs. Okay? So that's similar to Teisha Eser and then Teisha. Let's see what he says here. V'achal te'enim, and then he ate figs. So he violated his second shvuah. The hifresh carbon, he was mafresh a carbon. So now he ate mafresh a carbon. And then afterwards, then he ate grapes alone. So wait a second, would he be in violation of that first shvuah? The first shvuah said you're not going to eat grapes and figs, and he already ate figs. So all he needed to do was eat grapes. But already he was mafresh a carbon on eating figs. So the Gemara says, Havelei novim chatzi shear. Novim would be a half a shear, because you promised to eat grapes and figs, and we don't count the figs that you ate because you were mafresh a carbon for that. You're not going to be chayav a carbon on the first shvuah because you only ate grapes, and we're going to discount that you already ate figs because that was for another shvuah. Same idea over there, that sometimes Ifa could be correct. If a person said shvuah shloy oichel eser, because of amar shloy oichel teisha, so you're always going to say that if he eats 10, he's chayav 2 shvuahs. Yeah, but let's say he ate 9, the hifresh carbon, it was mafresh a carbon, right? So we already, that 9 doesn't count towards the 10. Then he ate the 10th loaf of bread. But he can't combine it with the previous 9, because the previous 9 was separated out under a separate carbon. So basically, the 10th loaf of bread is just what we counted as one loaf of bread. It's a half a shear. You didn't complete violating your neder. And you're not in violation of that half a shear. So he defended Ifa by saying that sometimes shvuah shlo yochel eser, and then you say shvuah shlo yochel teisha, will be counted as one shvuah if you ate 9 first and then you mafresh a carbon. Therefore, it's separated out, and by eating the 10th loaf of bread, it's as if you ate a chatz shear, and a chatz shear you would not bring a carbon. So we'll stop over here. Good Shabbos.